Hello, and welcome to our third and final session with Unstoppable Tracy. My name is Katherine Evans, and I'm here on behalf of Community Living Kincardine District. I hope you enjoyed our first two sessions with Tracy, Finding Opportunity and Leave No One Behind. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partner Oasis and our sponsors Bruce Power, Frank Cowan Company, and Bruce Telecom. Today, Tracy is back to talk to us about exceeding uncertainty. We could all use a little inspiration and motivation during these uncertain times, and Tracy's going to share some stories today to inspire us all to continue. So without further ado, please welcome Unstoppable Tracy.
Hello, Unstoppable Ontario! I am so pleased to be back with all of you in January who are finding opportunities, falling out of our everyday regime and climbing back into our boats to sail on. Success isn't always smooth sailing, we learned in January. And here we are, we had February, where we ensured that nobody was left behind. You know, if somebody can't tie their shoelace, we are there to be the shoelace leaders. And that most recently, the socks, lots of socks, very exciting month going on. And here we are now in March, where we are ready for part 3 of 3 to exceed uncertainty. These are certainly uncertain times in this pandemic. And we are better together, unstoppably thriving and reinventing. Reinvention is tough. I remember being at the airline industry, Air Canada and Canadian Airlines, and they were merging together after a big bankruptcy around the world, everywhere. Airlines, Lufthansa, United, Air Canada, Canadian, everybody was going bankrupt. And as a result, we merged the airlines, Canadian Airlines and Air Canada, together. In that merger time, people needed to start to work together in ways that they never had before. They used to be competing airlines. And kind of in this pandemic right now, a lot of us are working together like we never have before and finding unique ways to connect because we're all remotely in our own homes or finding safe ways to be together. And so this is kind of what was happening with Air Canada and Canadian Airlines, and they brought me in to have this conversation with 12 unions. These 12 unions from 2 different airlines, used to be competing, were now inventing the Employee Assistance Program. So kind of like what we're going through. We're all going through assistance programs, whether it's just supporting our teens or homeschooling and working from home and making a difference in the community. We've all been impacted, but especially people with disabilities. Everyone, everywhere are impacted. And so now I'm facing these 12 unions. I step off of an elevator and I'm about to be the facilitator to help them navigate this new assistance program. But they're still really raw. They're still feeling really uncertain because it wasn't long ago that things were completely different. In fact, they used to be completely 2 different airlines. And because of all this passion about the way things used to be and how they wished the way things were, they were pretty heated. And when I stepped off this elevator, I was facing a room full of majority of men in suits representing cargo, flight attendants, check-in agents, reservation telephone agents, pilots, all sorts of different areas of the airline industry. But they were all essentially men in suits being union leaders. And there was myself, this woman, as well as a woman with a disability. And I step off this elevator through these folks that are trying to face these new turbulent times and come out ahead, but feeling raw and uncertain. And I heard a couple of them say to each other, "Oh, great. This is going to be a total waste of time." Now, they were just talking to each other. They were murmuring. And that's where I made my first mistake. I made it mean that they were murmuring and whispering and doubting me. Right? I step off the elevator and that's what I hear. How often do we hear things, see things, read things, wonder things, and we get this internal dialogue in our head and we make it mean about us? I have no idea if they were talking about me when I got off that elevator. What happened was it made me think of being bullied as a child. So here I am stepping off, meant to be supporting the facilitation of a new assistance program. And the first thing I end up hearing is a murmur that has me doubt myself. And standing right there in that moment with perspiration on my forehead and a stomach that just turned upside down into a knot immediately, mentally, I time warp back in time. Now this is all in a split second, but where I go in my memory was remembering being an 8-year-old on a front lawn. So you may or may not know from our past episodes with Finding Opportunity, falling out of boats and growing up to a World Cup sailor, or in Nobody Left Behind in February, where I ended up tying the shoelaces of my 30 classmates because none of them could. And so I wasn't going to go to recess until we all went to recess as shoelace leaders. And some of you know, seen in Oprah magazine, have this bestseller book, have a TV show. I'm on stages with Dr. Phil. November in the pandemic. Virtually, I opened for the likes of Mark Wahlberg. So as the first four-wheel amputee to climb the Himalayas, race in World Cup regattas against able-bodied men, downhill skier, all these fabulous things have happened in my life when I ended up facing these 12 unions. But one sentence, it's all it took for me to time warp back to that 8-year-old version of myself. I'm on a front lawn, and you may or may not know I'm missing my hands and missing my legs. I was born a four-way amputee. So I'm sitting on the front lawn without my prosthetic legs on, giving my skin a rest. And there's a blanket on the lawn. And where I grew up, there's a great big hill. And there's gravel driveways everywhere. And there's kids playing on a lawn across from me. And I'm young and naive enough to think, oh, they just don't know that I'm here. So I excitedly am shouting over, like, come play on this lawn. I'm over here. Let's play together over here. And they were kind of ignoring me. But the naive, confident self that I was at the time, I thought, oh, they just can't hear me. And I just shouted louder and louder until some of the kids stopped and looked over. Well, when the bully noticed that, he says, ignore her. She's weird. No arms, no legs. Don't talk to her. And probably intimidated, all of those kids, they kind of followed suit. They ignored me. So being young, on the lawn, I start to cry, feeling left out. My mom opened the front door to check on me, and she finds me crying. She said, what's wrong? I said, I just want the kids to come play over here. There's a gravel driveway. I can't get over there. And they're making fun of me. They're saying I'm weird and all sorts of mean things. And my mom, surprisingly, she says, oh, how's that working for you? Now I'm surprised. I don't have an answer for her. And she gives like a smiling, knowing nod. And she shuts the door. So at first I think, I've got a mean mommy. And of course, I don't have a mean mom. And some of you might be laughing because you might be parents and you understand what she was doing in that moment. So I cried a bit more because of the mean words. Now I'm getting bullied and my mom shut the door. And then I realized I have every right to cry. Things are tough. They were saying mean things. I have every right to cry. But in this moment, I was crying and doing nothing about it. Or I have every right to be sad and feel left out. But instead of doing nothing about it, I could cry and do something about it. So I looked around to get ideas. And there was a skateboard at the bottom of my lawn on the main road part. And I lived on a crescent. So there wasn't a lot of through traffic where I was. And there's this skateboard on the road. So remember, my legs are off. I don't have my legs above my knees. And so I rolled down the front lawn. And there's the skateboard. So without my legs, with my legs ending above my knees, I have to bum shuffle and sit on the skateboard that way. So I'm sitting on the skateboard, and you notice I'm missing my left arm, but on the right-hand side, I have a longer arm. And so no legs, yes, sitting on the skateboard, but I do have this longer arm. So I use this long arm to propel myself. I like to say I borrowed that skateboard because it wasn't mine. So I borrowed the skateboard, and I propel myself sitting on this skateboard on the gravel and on the road where there's less gravel, so the skateboard was able to roll. And I get to the other lawn, and it's a hill too. We're both on a hill, and I roll up the hill to where the kids were playing. And at first I think this is a brilliant idea. I'll go to them because they won't come to me. But when I roll up the lawn and I sit up and I look at where they're all at, all of the kids are like wide-eyed saucers. And I'm pretty sure I heard a couple of them go, ooh, and gasp. Of course, what I made it mean in that moment, kind of like I made it mean that when the union representative said it was a waste of time at the beginning of my story with adults, I made those gasps and those wide eyes mean that, wow, she defied the bully. He said, stay away, and she came anyway. I think now in hindsight, they might have been wide-eyed because I was this little girl with no hands and no legs rolling up their front lawn. So there could have been a lot of reasons they were wide-eyed, but I was pretty sure that they were making it mean I was facing the bully. I was defying the bully. So I look across at them all, and you know, when there's a car accident and things are slow motion as they're happening, like you can almost slowly see yourself maybe plowing into the car in front of you or a guardrail, or when you're having an argument with somebody you love or somebody you care about or somebody that's really important, like a boss or a teacher or a neighbor. So you have this like serious conversation or serious accident, and in that moment, everything just seems to be slow motion. Like you hear yourself saying things that you didn't mean to, almost, or doing things in the car accident. So here I am, I've rolled up the lawn, the eyes are wide as saucers, they're all gasping, wondering what am I doing there? And I see the bully's lips moving in slow motion. And I realize if he speaks first, this whole fabulous plan of me skateboarding over there is gonna go south quick. So I don't know what to say, but I know I've got to say something. I've got to change up this vibe really quick. But because I'm 8 or so and I can't think of what else to say, I say the only thing I can think of. And I look across at them all, and I scan everybody's eyes, and I make deep eye contact, and I plaster on the biggest smile I can because my stomach is upside down. I am petrified. I'm so scared. but I fake a smile and I look them in the eyes and I just say, "Hi, I'm Tracy. Can I play?" I didn't get off that easy. The bully is caught off guard. So I've bought myself a moment or two, and I have caught him off guard. So instead of stopping the whole thing because I beat him to the punch with the "Hi, can I play?" the bully says, "The new kid's always it." I don't know how I'm going to play tag. I don't know how I'm going to play hide and seek. They're all running around, able-bodied little kids, super energetic. I also know that there's no room for me to come up with any excuses, even if they're real reasons that I can't run after them or play hide and seek if they leave the gravel area. But I do know that if I make an excuse or if I say, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to play that. Can we play something different?" I'm going to be up a creek. I'm not going to be allowed to play with them. So when he said, "The new kid's always it," I just said, "Okay." Even though I didn't know how, I had no idea how I was going to do it. Do you know that none of those kids ran off the front lawn? They all stayed on the grass. Nobody ran onto the gravel. And so because we were on the grass, I could run on my knees and I could roll around the grass and I could play with them. So fast forward, back in time, and I'm stepping out of the elevator of reinvention of me, reinvention of them, in the space of an assistance program that wants to help everybody, though it's a really uncertain time of bankruptcy and striking and mergers, and right now, like in the pandemic, of lost jobs and people you care about and disconnection of all these things going on. And so I step out the elevator, I time warp to this little girl's self, and I remember, take a deep breath, scared or not, because I was petrified, make eye contact, plaster on the smile, scared or not, right? Stand up tall, tall as I could, and just said, "Hello, I'm Tracy. Let's get started." A lesson from an 8-year-old. Let's get started, scared or not. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. At 8, to face those neighbors because we played and we were friends forevermore. And to face those union reps that were uncertain themselves and resistant on how are we going to move forward and how do we leave nobody behind? How do we find those opportunities like we talked about in January and February? Exceed uncertainty. But you don't know how. We didn't know how I would ski. But I wasn't going to figure it out on a couch at home. I had to get out there. And I saw a ski instructor. And I thought, oh, my thighs could fit in men's ski boots. And that's what we did. I learned to ski with men's ski boots on my thighs instead. Embrace possibility even when you don't know how. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. The only difference between failure and success is one more try. Now, the journey might not be what you think. I wanted to go to Rio Paralympics, and instead I ended up supporting every single boat in the Paralympics and the Olympics, where myself and my gold Olympic coach, Magnus Ligidal, ended up touching all the boats. And my journey was to support many more people and not just myself. And earning that independence when you exceed uncertainty. When I was in the Himalayas, the largest mountains in the whole wide world, I was the first four-way, both legs above knee and hands missing, amputee, to climb the Himalayas. And I remember being off of a cliff. And I'm hanging off of this cliff without my legs. I'm wearing a body harness, but I'm climbing that cliff essentially with this opposition device, holding on to that lifeline with one finger and no legs. And when my knees left the cliff overhang, I was hanging loose in the air. I didn't even have my knees on the edge. And I was petrified. I was scared all over again. And I froze in silence. And some of us are freezing. And some of us are having trouble getting out of bed. And some of us are needing to focus on self because it's very tough to support others right now because there's so many of our own needs. I remember hanging off that cliff midair, frozen in fear. And I'm just hanging on there by one finger on the lifeline, on the belay line. And somebody shouted, "Tracy, are you on the ground?" No, I'm not on the ground. So at first, my stomach fell even further into fear. And they shouted, "I don't have control over you anymore." I had forgotten. Somebody was on my belay line. Somebody was on my lifeline. Somebody was on my safety line. When she said, "I don't have control over you anymore." And it was an extraordinary person like this community living program launching this magnificent series with Frank Cowan Company and Bruce Telecom, all of these incredible people sponsoring this event, and community living staff members out there, all of you in the community being lifelines to each other. I had forgotten when I was hanging out there all alone that someone was on my lifeline. Someone was on my belay line, my safety line. I got to experience that moment when she said, "I don't have control over you anymore." I got to realize, I'm doing this. I'm out there. If I can do this, I can do anything. But that surge of independence and feeling ready to exceed uncertainty and let go of feeling uncertain was an excuse. It was no excuse for inaction. But I wasn't out there alone. Someone was on my lifeline. Who are you earning independence with? Who is on your lifeline? Who are you exceeding uncertainty with that says, "You got this"? Or "Are you on the ground?" Or "How you doing?" You know, on my lifeline would even be some of those bullies from that front lawn that day. Still, to this day, I have many Air Canada friends and people that are like family that are on my lifeline today, that at first were very resistant because of uncertainty. Feeling uncertain on how someone's going to react, feeling uncertain even if they say no at first. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. We're looking to find the opportunity, embrace the possibility even when you don't know how. You will find your backward ski boots. Exceed uncertainty, even if you feel like you're falling out of your sailboat. I failed my first summer sailing, as you heard in January, if you want to hear that story. And I got to grow up to be a World Cup sailor, sailing against able-bodied men, and earn independence. You don't earn independence alone. Nobody left behind. We make sure that everybody's shoelaces are tied before we run out into that schoolyard at kindergarten. And we need to do that in our community and in our neighborhoods, where we ensure nobody is left behind. Maybe it's a quick hello from a driveway. Possibly it's helping with salt for ice. The weather's warming up now in March when we want to exceed uncertainty. And many people are doing things like putting socks in the windows, which is a fabulous acknowledgement for Down Syndrome Day. Exceed uncertainty. I have no idea what all of you are facing right now. And working from home, schooling from home, elder care, and the health of people that are in our lives, and some horrific things are going on that I don't even want to put words to. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. I know that I have every reason. No one would judge me with no hands and no legs to not go sailing, to not climb the Himalayas, to not face union reps, to support the merger of two airlines, or to support Uber busting into Canada as an advocate in City Hall facing all these angry taxi drivers because they feel uncertain. They don't know what their future holds. It turns out it's okay. In the taxi world, it turns out it was an old, antiquated licensing system. And when we changed the licensing system, it was a lot cheaper for the taxi drivers to operate. And then there was space for taxis and space for Uber. No one had to be left behind. We just needed to enter into those tough conversations where no, N-O, just means K-N-O-W. We just don't know. Like we talked about in the Nobody Left Behind February. I am so grateful as Unstoppable Tracy, climbing mountains, sailing, scuba diving, supporting Loblaws during this pandemic to reinvention. Stand up tall, make eye contact, and say, let's get started. You can do it. Little bit of tough love. I don't know what you're facing, but you know no one would judge me. I have very real reasons without legs and without hands. But when I get to live a life of no excuses, little bit of tough love. When I get to live a life of no excuses, I get to live a life of no limits. No limits. Disarm your limiting beliefs. I spell limiting with a B because I was born limitless. Limitless. The bigger secret is not that I was born limitless. You are born limitless too. We are all limitless. Disarm your limiting beliefs. And a little bit of tough love. No excuses, no matter what's going on. No excuses, no limits. It is such a pleasure to be with you in January for Finding Opportunity, in February for Nobody Left Behind, and now in March with Exceeding Uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. You can do it. Jump out of those airplanes. Jump into those opportunities. Just make sure you know who packed your parachute. Community living and all of you listening are the kind of people that I would love to pack my parachute. Forevermore, be unstoppable. I am Unstoppable Tracy all over social media. Please reach out for more, for podcast, for a free download of the book. But what's more important is unstoppable you in this 3-part series. Believe you are capable. Don't avoid failure. And jump. Exceed uncertainty. Find opportunity. And please leave nobody left behind. Who's on your lifeline in this incredible journey? Many positive thoughts to all of you out there, extraordinary souls. I remember crossing a bridge in Nepal, And when I got to the other side of the bridge, I wasn't alone. Massive drop over the Motivational River. Missing planks. The safety lines were well above my head. I got to cross that suspension bridge in the Himalayas of Nepal. I exceeded uncertainty, but it's thanks to people like you that facilitate crossing those bridges, breaking down those walls. Watch, ask, listen, learn. Break down those walls. WALL. Watch, ask, listen, learn. And that's how you break down your walls. That's how you exceed uncertainty. Watch, ask, listen, L, learn, L. Watch, ask, listen, learn. And we can bust those barriers. We can crush those obstacles. You are all great leaders, great parents, great neighbors, great community members. Sometimes we just need to be inspired. Thank you for listening in to Unstoppable You. Many positive thoughts your way. Saying goodbye for now from Unstoppable Tracy.
Thank you for sharing, Tracy. I hope you all found a little inspiration and motivation from today's session. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partner Oasis, our sponsors Bruce Power, Frank Cowan Company, and Bruce Telecom. And thank you for watching.